Hi, Timothy Carlson here, and it's movie time again. It's been one of the most delayed 4K discs of all time, but we finally have it. The 4K release of the Coen Brothers 1996 classic, Fargo, put out by Shout Factory on their Shout Select label. The movie that really put the Coen Brothers on the map, even though they'd been making movies for over a decade prior to this. I'm going to unbox this release, share my opinions, and talk about whether I recommend this one or not. There's your cover art, got the classic image from the film with Frances McDormand's character doing what she does best. Spine text, this is number 148 in the Shout Select line. Back cover. Inside the case, again, pretty much the same art. I am disappointed that they're not including reversible art with this, especially given how many random different covers, earlier Blu-ray releases of the movie there have been. So obviously there's a lot of images that got chosen from there. And we have our 4K disc, which has the film on it, and a Blu-ray disc of the film plus the bonus features. I'll read the description of the film from the back. In this 7-time Oscar-nominated film, things go terribly awry when small-time Minnesota car salesman Jerry Lundegaard hires two thugs to kidnap his wife so he can collect a ransom from his wealthy father-in-law. Once people start dying, the very chipper and very pregnant police chief Marge Gunderson takes the case. Is she up for the challenge? You betcha. Fargo was the movie that catapulted the Coen brothers to superstardom. They'd made some movies prior to this which were certainly well received and actually very good movies in their own right, but this was the one that pretty much said they're here and they're here to stay. And they've made several amazing films since. I can't even really name them all just because they've had such a wide and diverse filmography, doing everything from more lighthearted, silly comedies to much darker material. But even their darker material tends to be darkly comedic. I think Fargo is a great example of that. I mean, this movie has a pretty sinister plot with a kidnapping to collect ransom money that ultimately ends up escalating with people dying and all kinds of other disastrous consequences occurring along the way. But despite that, the movie maintains a certain charm and a somewhat comedic tone despite how violent it can get at times. Don't get me wrong, the movie certainly earns its R rating, but despite that, there will be a few times in this movie where you are laughing out loud with writing and direction as only the Coen brothers could pull off. And of course, the movie looks beautiful as well with its Midwest locations. This is largely thanks to the cinematography of Roger Deakins, who's long been their collaborator. Deakins is probably best known for his work with the Coen brothers, but he's even worked on some of the more recent James Bond films, so it's good to see his talent is getting recognized as well. And of course, what discussion of Fargo would be complete without talking about the cast? This is an absolutely amazing cast of actors brought together, and everyone just does their job nicely. Frances McDormand I've always felt to be a very underrated actress, and she'd starred in, of course, several films before this, including some for the Coen brothers. I mean, her performance in one of their earlier works, Blood Simple, is excellent as well. But here you have her playing this very upbeat, pregnant police chief. I mean, it's just such an eccentric role, and just from that description, you can get an idea of what I mean. And then you have, of course, William H. Macy playing the down-on-his-luck car dealership who has to live in the shadow of his father-in-law and struggle to provide for his wife and son, coming up with what he believes is the ultimate scheme that's going to make everything work out. And the cast is filled out by the likes of Steve Buscemi, who plays one of the small-time crooks that's recruited into the scheme. And of course, it's not long before everything just completely goes to hell and spirals out of control. Fargo is one of those movies you really have to see to believe, because I don't think a description really does it justice. It's certainly become one of my favorites over the years. I don't know how many times I purchased this on DVD and Blu-ray back in the day, but I am very happy to see it finally, after all these random delays, get the 4K treatment it deserves. And Shout Factory's disc looks absolutely gorgeous. Again, Fargo is one of those movies that was never really shot to be home theater demo material, but it is a respectful transfer that keeps all the film grain intact, and the HDR, of course, gives us the nice additions with lights and darks and really expands the color spectrum. A lot of Fargo takes place in pretty mundane-looking, white, snow-filled expanses, so it's not the most colorful movie in the world, but it does get that nice boost in just about every category. This is an example of how to do a classic back catalog title right. Shout Factory has certainly done right by this release. And I do want to point out that the transfer on here is a new 4K transfer that was approved by Roger Deakins, so that should say something as to what effort Shout went to make this release happen. Sadly, the bonus features front is a little less impressive because we just get features from prior releases, including the Roger Deakins commentary track, the Minnesota Nice featurette, and then things like trailers, TV spots, and stills galleries. It is a decent amount of stuff. I just wish they would have given us maybe one or two new things here. I mean, it would have been great if they could have hunted down some of the cast and crew for some new interviews, but as is, overall, I can still give the package a very high recommendation on the strength of the film and this transfer, which looks absolutely gorgeous, but never feels artificially enhanced or anything of the like. So a highly recommended package to any fan of the film or anyone who just is a fan of cinema in general. Are you a fan of Fargo? Do you think it's the greatest movie the Coen brothers ever made? Comment down below and let me know what you think. Also, remember to subscribe to this channel for more content because I'm always posting new videos. And make sure you give this one a like if you found it helpful. I'm Taylor T. Carlson. I'll see you next time.